We know the Texans have made a lot of changes this offseason, a lot to be excited about, some long-term changes, some short-term changes. We've been talking about how the Texans are going to do this season, and at the very least, it's going to be a lot different, and there's a lot more excitement. But how many changes have they made, and just how significant are these changes? Let's focus specifically on the amount of new starters that we will see for the Houston Texans the upcoming season as they prepare for the next installment of OTAs and training camp approaches. Let's do a quick deep dive into how many starters we'll see for the Houston Texans. This is going to be a mind-blowing exercise in the locker room you don't want to miss.
Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do.
All right, so we know that the Texans have made a lot of roster moves. Nick Caserio has signed a lot of free agents. He has a philosophy of two-year deals, which I personally like. Some people don't like. I like. I have no problem with it at this point. Next year is going to be the year when they got massive cap space. They've added some young guys that they hope can be pivotal cornerstone types of pieces. And they've added some guys that could be stopgap guys that hold it down and hopefully improve on what they had last year, or some guys who could be gone next year and they'll continue to churn the roster. That's part of a rebuild. Eventually, though, you want to get some long-term guys. So the question is, and it is the Locker Room #1 source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central on Sports Radio 610, the Odyssey app. And we'll have live coverage tomorrow of the next installment of off-season activities, as well as potentially a player. So download the Odyssey app and keep riding along. But the question is, how many new starters do the Houston Texans have? And at the end of this exercise, we'll talk about how many of these guys could be long-term fixes. Let's start with the most important position, the quarterback position. So this is new starter #1. We don't know when it's going to happen, but C.J. Stroud, eventually you're going to want to see him be the starter in the place of Davis Mills. Does it happen soon? Does Davis Mills start week 1? I think that's a long shot. But C.J. Stroud, you don't use the #2 overall pick on a quarterback and not have him start. So that's one new starter. Let's go to the guys that he will be throwing to. Stroud, likely. Mills, long shot. Wide receiver Robert Woods in place of Brandon Cooks. Knows the system. He's on a 2-year deal. Hopefully that's a multi-year type of thing. The production wasn't awesome last year in Tennessee, but the production was awful here at the wide receiver position. So if you can get that, you will take it. #2, Robert Woods. So that's 2 new starters already on offense. Staying with the wide receiver, slot wide receiver. I don't know. Some people don't consider this a starting position. I like to just combine it with fullback, depending on how you start. And either way you slice that, whether it's the slot wide receiver, whether that's going to be Mechie, who I consider new, or whether that's going to be Tank Dell, Noah Brown, who knows? You're going to have a new slot wide receiver. So let's just say 3. Fullback, just mentioned that. Andrew Beck instead of Troy Hairston. You gave Andrew Beck a multi-year deal. Little more capable of doing things on offense. He's been doing that most of his life. Hairston just converted. So a new fullback. That's 4. 3, however you look at it. But we'll just say 4. Tight end, Dalton Schultz. One of the better catching tight ends of the last few years. Dalton Schultz going to be new. 1-year deal. Hopefully he plays his way into a longer-term contract and continues to perform it the way he has recently. But Dalton Schultz, instead of all the guys you had last year, whether it was Jordan Akins, Pharaoh Brown early on in the season, Brevin Jordan, Quitoriano, who should still be a backup, that's 5 new starters. Staying on offense, right guard, Shaq Mason. You traded for him. You made him one of the higher paid guards in the NFL. Shaq Mason definitely going to start. He's going to replace A.J. Cann. That's 6 new stars. We're already got 6, and we're not even on the other side of the rock yet. And let's cap it off with 7. 7 new starters at center. Unless Scott Questenberry can hold on for dear life, you traded up for Juice Scruggs. So you got to think that he's going to start. So that is 7 new starters, and we're on offense. We're finally done with the offense, though. 6 if you look at fullback and slot wide receiver is the same. but I'm just going to say 7. Defensive end, your number 3 overall pick, Will Anderson. Will Anderson's going to replace an array of guys you had at end last year. Will Anderson, a new starter. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 8 new starters. Staying on that D line, defensive line, Sheldon Rankins. There was an array of guys there. Sheldon Rankins, new starter. We're at 9. Linebacker, there's only one sure thing. Weak side linebacker. We know Christian Harris is going to be that guy. I don't know what's going to happen with Christian Kirksey. It would be nice to see a rookie like To'o overtake him, but you brought in some new guys. Could we say 2 new starters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 new starters now, assuming that you have 2 starting linebackers. I think Kirksey's gone. I don't know. I thought he would be gone by now. So that's 11. And then you have strong safety Jimmy Ward, who is going to replace Jonathan Owens. He's on a 2-year deal. So that's 12 new starters right there. 11 if you want to look at fullback and slot wide receiver is one thing. So that's 12 new starters. Over half your guys are going to be new starters. So that's 12 or 11, depending on how you look at it, which is a ton of guys. 4 of those guys are on 1-year deals, a couple guys on multi-year deals, and a couple of rookies. So 11 or 12 new starters, 4 on 1-year deals. So the churning on the roster likely going to continue next year. And we don't know how these other veterans that are a little bit older, they're going to perform. So the churning of the roster is there. 11, 12 new starters. Seems like upgrades in most instances, but that is a hell of a lot of starters, 12, 11. Something else to watch closely if we want to look at other potential starters, because we're not even looking at variables, injuries, etc. Watch the cornerback battle between Steven Nelson and Shaq Griffin, and maybe left guard Kenyon Green. If he plays like he did last year, then you got to think that there's potential of him getting replaced as well. But you got to hope. I don't even want to entertain that at this point until we see Kenyon. 12 or 11 new starters. That's a hell of a lot. That's half of your roster. So when we ask, how much change have the Texans made? How significant will it be? That right there. A quick little dive into it. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Subscribe, like, ride along, download the Odyssey app. It is the Locker Room, #1 source for Texans daily digital content. We started this at the start of last season. We haven't stopped. Appreciate everyone for riding along. It's only going to get more fun no matter what happens, whether these starters hold up or not. When it comes to this Texans game, we are all in this together. Have a good one.
Yeah.